We're talking about our relationship with Daddy God, with Heavenly Father. A couple of years ago, when I went on this retreat that I mentioned to you, I remember very distinctly sitting down by a river. We were in the hill country of Texas, here in the U.S. Beautiful setting on a ranch, just nature all around, deer roaming the land and water flowing down the river. It was a very pleasant day. And I spent an entire day, 8 hours outside, just being in the presence of God, enjoying Him. And that day, as I was reflecting and praying and looking at my life, some things that were happening during that particular season, I began to really cry out to God as a father for my children. I began to pray and really cry out for their safety, for their success, for Him to protect them and keep them as they were growing up, especially my son as he was about to leave us to go off to university. And as I was really crying out to God, this sense of almost desperation and just anxiety, not anxiety, but maybe just intensity came up in me, and I began to say, God, take care of my kids, and protect them and keep them. And I promise you, the Lord spoke to me so clearly, maybe one of the clearest times I've ever heard His voice. And He said to me, He said, you trust you as an earthly father with your son more than you trust me and what I've said about him. Those words broke my heart. I began to weep and cry, and I just said, God, you're so correct. Well, yeah, He's correct. Of course He's right. But it broke my heart because I realized that in my earthly shell, I had a limited capacity to love my son. And I would give my life for either one of my children. And that's what a father does. But He was saying to me, I'm vested in them more than you are. My word is on the line. Everything I've spoken concerning your children, everything I've ever promised you about them or promised them about them, everything I've ever set in the heavenlies as being my will and my plan for their life. My word is on the line. He's saying, I care more about them and can handle it better than you can. And you know what? That day, I resolved in my heart as an earthly father that I would trust the Father of all fathers with my son, with my daughter, with their future, with their destiny. Am I still in their life? Of course. Am I a counselor, a friend? Am I a father to them? Do I mentor them? Do I offer them advice? Sure. But from that day, I began to point them in the direction of the one Father who never leaves us, never forsakes us, and truly has an insatiable desire to see us become and be all that He intended us to be. You see, friends, our Heavenly Father is so much broader and bigger and better than any earthly father could be. Imagine how you love your children. Imagine what you would do for them. Imagine the length that you would go to protect them, to care for them, to provide for them. And yet we can't even comprehend. The Bible tells us we cannot even imagine or comprehend the love, the concern, the care, and the intent that He has toward us. You see, He knows the plans He has for us. And while you and I may be able to play a role or a part in our children's lives or in the lives of those that we love and care for in our life, the fact is we must have an encounter with the Heavenly Father and understand that His embrace, His acceptance, His affirmation, His love, His belief in us will carry us much farther than any earthly father could ever do. My name is Brian Holmes. Thank you for joining us on this edition. We'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.